Welcome to the Athlete Advisory Podcast.
Welcome back to the Athlete Advisory Podcast. I'm Justin Brashear, a former collegiate athlete, an attorney, and an NFLPA certified agent. Today, everything we're talking about sits right at the intersection of all three. We are joined by my good friend Keifer Ackley, the Assistant Athletic Director for NIL and Student Athlete Development at McNeese State University. Keifer is a McNeese alumni. He's an LSU law graduate, someone who works on NIL education from inside an athletic department every single day, and more importantly, a good friend of mine. McNeese has recently hosted the MPact Summit, which is a full-day event that brought together more than 200 student athletes and local businesses to focus on NIL education, financial literacy, branding, networking, and more importantly, a preparation for life beyond sport. Today, I want to talk to Keifer about what NIL education actually looks like on the ground, what student athletes are responding to, and what events like the MPact Summit tell us about where college athletics is headed. So with that, welcome to episode 2, Inside the MPact Summit with Keifer Ackley.
What's going on, my man? Thanks for having me.
Keifer, thanks for joining us today. So to start, can you walk us through your role at McNeese on a day-to-day basis? What does it look like when it comes to NIL and educating student athletes?
Sure. So, smaller department. And so, got to wear many hats. But on the NIL side, definitely one-on-ones with the athletes. How do I get started at NIL? Love to take them from, the basics and give them that confidence to move forward and go get deals, compliance, with CAPS and NIL Go and influencer, making sure athletes are fluent in all things compliance, event planning like the summit, which takes a lot of legwork but it's well worth it. And so, event planning, compliance, one-on-one sit downs, and just staying ahead of the curve on education.
Awesome, man. Well, take us through the summit a little bit. Tell us about the idea. Tell us about the planning, the process that went behind it, and the impact that it's made, no pun intended, but the impact that it's made for your student athletes.
Sure. So I was hired here about a year and a half ago. I was a personal injury lawyer and came on board and could see that we were missing a piece of this NIL education, the student athlete development education. And athletes are busy, Justin. You're a former student athlete, and I don't want to take up too much of their time. And the attorney and us, we want to get things done and do it efficiently and quick. And I want to pack a lot in. And so I came on board about a year and a half ago. One of the first initiatives was to start a summit of this nature. And wanted to pack in, obviously, the Business Connection Fair with 30 plus businesses, let them connect, and then break out into certain sessions that they choose that are relatable to them on financial literacy, public speaking, NIL education, financial literacy, and let them learn and kind of get a jump start into the year. We always do it in January because we want them to go into the year feeling confident and ready to go get deals, to start networking with businesses. And so that really was the concept behind it. In 3 to 4 hours, give them the education they needed to get a jump start into the year.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And look, I was there. I got a chance to see it firsthand. I think it was incredible. And I think, Keifer, that a lot of people, they have a misconception that NIL education is just about getting deals and making money. What, in your perspective, what were the bigger themes that the athletes seemed to be most engaged with during the summit?
Yeah, so I did a survey at the end, and the two most prominent things were I'm ready to reach out to businesses more. I need to do that. And I need to post more on social media. Why am I not posting more? And so that's the whole point of the summit. It's just to jumpstart those conversations and that confidence and that empowerment in the student athlete going, it takes a conscious effort to pursue NIL and career opportunities. They already have practice and games and class and study hall. And then you add this on top and it seems overwhelming. But we want to let them know that, look, businesses want to work with you. It's really simple. It's really easy. And here in Southwest Louisiana, we can make that doable for you. And I just want to bring the parties together to start those conversations and let them know that it's not as hard as everybody makes it out to seem and the headlines are misleading. It could be real simple. We can start very small and work our way up from there.
Yeah, that's right on. And I think that leads right into the next question and conversation is, why is it so important in the NIL education space to discuss things like financial literacy, branding, networking, public speaking, and not just contractual basics?
That's right, because before you can get to the contract and how to read it and everything, you gotta get those deals first, and that goes with public speaking, networking, confidence.
Hmm.
You can't get NIL deals unless you have that skill set and you're prepared to know who you are internally, what brands you want to work with, how are you going to pitch them, what deliverables are you going to pitch, how are you going to execute, how can you sell them on the vision of how you can bring more business to their more marketing value to their business. And so you have to really do some work. And I think a lot of
Hmm.
our athletes
Yeah.
realize, man, I gotta do a little bit of work on myself to be able to pursue this, but it's much overdue. I've been
Right.
needing to do this. And so it kind of starts that conversation. And that's what I enjoy the most, is seeing that light bulb go off in their head and going, I can do this. I can
Yeah.
go get that job, that internship, that
Yeah.
NIL deal. And I'm leaving this summit ready to go. And
Yeah.
that's what I get the most out of.
And I think that's incredible. You touched on it there at the very end. I think that the empowerment of the athlete to understand that they can go out and use these skills, these transferable skills that they're learning through NIL, they can use them to land a good job. They can use them to navigate their career after the game is over. And I think a lot of times people sort of glaze over that thought process in the NIL space because, to your point, it is so clickbait friendly. It is so fast moving that people often don't realize the impact that it can make on themselves from that standpoint.
That's right.
What do you think about that? I mean, have you seen that anecdotally with the athletes that you work with?
100%. I mean, they think they're not interested in NIL. I don't have a big social media following. NIL is not for me. And then they go to the summit and they meet the businesses. They realize that the conversations are so fluid and they're so easygoing. They build relationships with the businesses, and they go, wait, I actually have this in me, which I never. It was just untapped potential. And so it's really cool to see that, our macho men that think, oh man, NIL, I'm not doing all that. And then they have these conversations, they get educated, and they really find that inner passion in them for this. And I think they realize too that, sport, life in sports doesn't go on forever for all of our athletes. And
Right.
I think they realize they got to have that conversation with themselves, or, sooner rather than later. And so I think it kind of, fast tracks that that's and they get excited to talk to businesses and to, really put a conscious effort in a network and put themselves out there. So that's the whole point of the summit, is to really just find that inner potential in them and turn them loose and empower them to go do their thing.
Yeah, isn't it awesome when you see the light bulb come on in a young person's mind, and they realize that the opportunity that sport presents to them is not just the ability to go out and play, but it's something that's bigger and something that's going to have an impact on their life a lot longer. So that's pretty neat. What kinds of questions or concerns were you hearing the most often from athletes before and during the summit?
Yeah, so last year was our first one, and the main thing was it was very NIL centric. It wasn't as much career development centric, and so that was one thing that was stood out last year was like, man, I'm not really interested in NIL. Can we do more career readiness, internship, job preparation? That's how I tailored it this year, to more classroom breakout session setting. And then also our international student athletes, as you know, with F1 visa, they're very restricted in the NIL activity they can do. And
Correct.
So this year I wanted to make sure that we tailor classrooms to them too, and not make it as NIL centric. And I'll let them select the classes they wanted to go to, whether it was more of an NIL track or more of a career readiness track. We were able to provide that for them. And so those are the two main concerns from last year that we really try to fix for this year. And based on the feedback, it was great. And it was really cool. Like, we brought in the local chamber of commerce, and we had some athletes leave their sessions and go, I want to join the Chamber of Commerce. I want to see how I can get involved in Southwest Louisiana in the 5 parish area. And I didn't know there were so many opportunities for employment here. And so that's the conversations we want to initiate and engage with. And so it was really cool to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like I said, I got a chance to go and see, both year one and year two. And I think one of the most important things, or one of the most interesting things I saw this year, was the diversity in the exhibitors. I mean, you had the state police, you had banks, you had law firms, you had all kinds of people there. And it was it almost looked like a job fair in a lot of ways, where, the athletes could see a future for themselves not only through sport, but after sport. I thought that was really cool. Now, for athletes that are just starting to think about NIL, what is a big surprise that usually gets exposed on how it actually works?
That's right. And I mean, look, athletes, they read the news too. They see what Texas A&M, what LSU is doing and these 5-6-figure deals. And they just always in their head go, NIL is not for me. And our whole goal is to say, look, like that you go get a protein shake every week at that local store. Have you asked them to market their business and get a protein shake in return? You get coffee at a local coffee shop once or twice a week. Have you ever thought about asking them to, market their business in return? You go get cosmetic service. Like, we start with the basics to let them know that, like, the businesses you're already going to, that's where you can start. And you already have a relationship most of the time with that business owner. And, as a former student athlete, like, those things go such a long way. Like getting an oil change and marketing that, like, just the little things that add up. And I know you probably wish you would have had that opportunity. And
no
we
doubt
want to let them know that, like, you have an unbelievable opportunity to knock down some expenses, to build your brand, to create a network for yourself, for the future. And so we just want to let them know that you can start basic. You don't have to, don't let the headlines get in the way of your progress. And so that's the whole goal of the smaller school NIL, is just to start with the basics. And we have such a good local business community where it's really good to bring the local businesses and the athletes together, and they're starting to see the light, which is the whole point. So it's really cool to see.
Right. And I think to that point, Keifer, you guys have done a really good job. I think that for the audience, people may not realize, McNeese is an FCS school. It's a Division I FCS school that competes in the Southland Conference. But you were literally bookended by Big 12 schools and SEC schools on the same interstate. And so you're competing for talent a lot of times at the very high levels. But this part of it, I think, is important, because this type of education, this type of summit that you've put on, is not something that happens at a lot of programs. It's not something that happens around the country. Talk about that a little bit. Talk about the genesis of the idea, and frankly, talk about how I think the athletic department at McNeese is doing a great job being on the forefront of NIL, particularly in a small school situation.
No, thank you. And look, it starts with alignment of leadership. You have to have, from presidency to AD to everybody, every stakeholder, the local businesses, like, everybody has to be pulling in the same weight. And you have to make a conscious effort to say, we're going all in on NIL. Like, we're going all in. I mean, my position is the only position in the Southland Conference of this nature. We're only the second ones in the state of Louisiana to have a summit of this kind outside of LSU. And so it just shows where our department is. We're trying to be on the forefront of everything collegiate athletics. We don't, feel sorry for ourselves that we're an FCS school, or we think big. I mean, we truly think, okay, what's the Power 4 schools doing? Let's do it at our level. We can't do it at the full capacity that they're doing, but at least we're going to be forward thinking and aggressive, and make a conscious effort to invest in NIL, student athlete development, NIL education. And we're seeing, I've been here about a year and a half, almost 2 years, that, like, it's paying off. When you invest in NIL and student athlete development, even at our level, it pays off, I think, 100-fold. It really has. And we have such a special area, and it's all about marrying the student athletes with the local businesses. And for those that don't know, Justin was one of the first ones in our area to do NIL with our student athletes. So I got to give credit to him. Like, he was groundbreaking in that space. That was what, 3 years ago, Justin?
It was right after it became legal.
And you jumped in head first. You were the first one to kick it off and to invest in McNeese student athletes. And you did some awesome podcasts and things of that nature. And so, like, you really kicked it off. And look how much it's grown in the past 3 to 4 years. And so, kudos to you and for getting it started and not being afraid.
I had fun with it, man. And I think that a lot of times that, taking that leap of faith and doing something like that, sort of in an interesting way for me, it was sort of just kind of see what it was like. It sort of led to more things. And that actually brings me to my next point is we in this community, you've talked about it a couple of times. We have a very strong partnership in the community between, local businesses and community leaders with the school. We have first of its kind naming rights deals done for this football stadium, basketball arena, things of that nature. And my question to you is, what role do those community partners and local businesses play in not only making the NIL opportunities in the first, like making them available, but making them meaningful and sustainable for the athletes?
That's right. And I think what's cool is we get a business in, they start doing NIL deals with our athletes, and then they look, okay, those athletes graduated. How can I get the next group in? Keifer, who should I work with next? And then we just we just build it every year. And then other businesses see what they're doing and they want to be a part of it. And we get it all the time, Justin. I'm just like, we want to help, Keifer. How can we help? And while, sometimes I can't give a huge corporate sponsorship, we go, you can invest in our student athlete to do an NIL deal and you'll be able to invest in them. And what's cool is like, we see our local businesses do deals with our athletes and they go to the games. They're wearing their t-shirts with their name and their face, and their number on it. They build a true relationship with our student athletes. And so, we invite any local business, any fan to engage with our department, whether it's through corporate sponsorships, NIL deals, coming to games, buying season tickets. Like we just want touch points with our department. And the summit was a big part of that, of like, come to our arena, come engage our student athletes. They possess an unbelievable skill set of time management, adversity, not being afraid to be told no, sitting the bench, and then getting rewarded later on. Like, they're ready to be employed. They're ready to do NIL deals. And so all we want to do is just invite local businesses to just engage with our department in any way, shape, or form. And NIL has been a very important way that we've been able to accomplish that.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Keifer, last question for you. From inside your position inside the athletic department, what do you think is the most commonly misunderstood point about NIL from people on the outside?
I think we touched a little bit on it earlier. Just, Keifer, I don't have the money to do NIL. And it's like, well, you can give a free coffee, right? Yeah, I can do that. And they can market my business in return. I can do that. What about a protein shake once every 2 weeks? And in return, they do a meet and greet at your store, or they post on social media. Oh, I can do that. And what's cool is about the summit is like, we had a local running shoe company. They met a couple of our student athletes, our MPact ambassadors, who are our top 5, most engaged student athletes in NIL. And then by Friday, they did a deal with all 5 of them.
I saw that. Yep. Saw that already.
They already shot content. It's already rolling. Yeah. And it's just like, that's what it's all about. And so we just want to continue that upper trajectory of just education on the business side and the student athlete side of, guys, this can be real simple. Make it real simple. We have the technology where you can do an NIL deal literally on your phone. And we had a student athlete one time that was studying at a coffee shop, struck up a conversation with the business owner. Within a day, over the phone, through the influencer app, they had a deal done. And so it's just, we just try to make it the education piece on the business side and the student athlete side. It's not easy, but as we're seeing, it's a worthwhile effort to do that. And the more businesses we bring into this realm, the stronger we get. And we're not going to stop until we try to get every Southwest Louisiana business to do NIL with our athletes. That's truly our goal, is to just get every single business engaged in NIL. So it's been fun.
Well, it's fun to watch too. And you guys are doing a great job, man. So keep up the good work. And look, Keifer, I really appreciate you taking time to talk with us today, to share your perspective on NIL. And it's still very new for a lot of people. Conversations like this are so valuable to bring clarity and exposure to what is really actually happening and what NIL is really actually about. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for your input today. And listen, if this episode helped you, please like and share, subscribe it. Help us reach more athletes and their families. For real world guidance and practical advice on your NIL deals and career planning, head on over to collegeathleteconsulting.com. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.